The movie kicks off in the desert, where two guys are hunting lizards. Soon, one of them stumbles upon a wooden sign that reads "Danger Zone." The other guy suggests setting a trap and leaving, but suddenly vanishes. His buddy hears strange sounds and cautiously heads towards the source. Before long, he discovers a deep pit turning into an endless tunnel, and on the pit's edge, his friend's abandoned basket. Out of the pit emerges the frightened man, pleading for help, but in an instant, he disappears underground. Trembling, his friend backs away from the pit, but curiosity gets the best of him, and he decides to peep into it. All of a sudden, he sees something terrifying approaching him and immediately runs in fear towards his motorcycle to escape. However, the bike drives away without him, and he can't escape the monster. The scene shifts to a nightclub, where once popular singer Cal is performing alongside his cousin Jane. After their set, Cal and Jane head to the bar to take a breather. Cal thanks Jane for finding him a gig at the club, as his life isn't going too well. Suddenly, the concert is interrupted by a police squad cracking down on illegal substances. Cal claims he didn't take anything, but tests prove otherwise. As a result, news of Cal's arrest during the raid spreads all over the web. Shocked by the injustice, Cal and Jane brainstorm how to prove their innocence. Out of the blue, Jane's mom calls her and informs of their grandpa's passing. Saddened by the news, the cousins immediately head to their hometown to bid farewell to their loved one. On the way, Cal reminisces about his childhood when his grandpa, who stood in for his parents, would tell him about groundwater and well drilling. At the funeral, Cal meets Yo, Grandpa's assistant, and reconnects with childhood friend Fawn. Cal awkwardly interacts with Fawn after so many years, and she accuses him of forgetting about home and coming only for the funeral. Flustered, Cal justifies his rare visits with a busy schedule and hopes Fawn understands, considering she runs a significant YouTube channel. In another flashback, we see the scene of Cal and Fawn's first encounter. Fawn's dad presents Cal's grandpa with lizards as a sign of respect. Grandpa hands over the cage to his grandson, who decides to set the reptiles free. Fawn is amazed by Cal's kindness, and thus, their friendship begins. Soon after, Fawn leaves the farewell ceremony, and Cal's aunt tells him that the grandpa left something for him in inheritance. Yo enthusiastically shows Cal and Jane an old rusty car, assuring them that it's not as bad as it seems. Meanwhile, in the cavern of the giant lizard, the men who were unlucky regain consciousness. The lizard hunters, trapped in horrifying cocoons, watch in horror as the underground monster devours one of its victims, then lunges at the other two unfortunate men. Cal enters his grandpa's bedroom and continues reminiscing about his childhood. Suddenly, he's distracted by a notification on his phone, discovering that Fawn is hosting an unprecedented contest to celebrate reaching 8 million subscribers on her YouTube channel. Fawn's hometown is suffering from a drought, so she plans to assemble the best drilling teams to locate groundwater. The team that completes the task first will receive 1 million Thai baht in cash. What would you spend $1 million on? Share your ideas in the comments. Cal, Jane, and Yo decide to participate in this unusual competition. They restore the car that Cal inherited and head to the competition location. Fawn welcomes the participants from the stage, but her voice reaches more than just the human ears. Soon, the mayor of the town takes the stage and explains to the participants that they'll all receive the same set of tools, an underground water flow map, and a signal rocket launcher. The team that discovers groundwater must immediately fire the rocket to mark their location. The participants hurry to register, while underground, something ominous is brewing. Before long, the respected driller Me arrives at the competition site with his team. Their appearance disappoints all the participants, as B has the best equipment, making him a likely winner. B starts flirting with Fawn and suggests discussing cooperation privately, but Cal intervenes and forces the audacious driller to leave. The participants finally get to work, but their optimism quickly fades as they find only solid dry soil everywhere. After some time, two men discover a discarded motorcycle belonging to one of the victims of the underground monster. Realizing they can't win the competition, they decide to leave on the motorcycle and then sell it. The men joyfully set off, but suddenly a huge lizard starts following them, tearing up the surface of the earth. Frightened, the men accelerate and seem to escape the pursuit, but the monster manages to catch up with them. How would you act to avoid getting caught by a giant lizard and survive? Share your plan in the comments. Meanwhile, Cal and his team continue to search for water. Soon, they notice numerous overturned dishes on the ground. Cal explains that it's an ancient technique of searching. If there's water underground, drops will definitely gather in the dish. Yo notices mysterious inscriptions on the dishes, and suddenly another group of drillers discovers them too. They explain that these inscriptions ward off evil spirits that inhabit the nearby mountains. Cal doesn't believe the strangers' words, and they continue the water search. In the evening, Cal accidentally finds his grandpa's map in the car, which marks both known underground streams and his personal findings. The team compares the standard map with Grandpa's and discovers an unknown point at the foot of the mountain. Hoping for victory, the team decides to go there the next day. All the participants go home for the night, but one group of drillers decides to spend the night in the desert. 3 men roast lizards over a fire and discuss rumors about powerful earth spirits watching over this arid land. One of the men goes a bit further to relieve himself, and suddenly he notices a horrifying creature in the distance, flying straight toward him. The men begin to worry about their friend's long absence, and suddenly a body part of him falls right next to them. Terrified, the drillers run to their car in hopes of escaping, but the giant lizard prevents them from getting away. In the morning, Fawn and the mayor discover that 3 participants of the competition are missing. The mayor explains to the concerned girl that people have gone missing in these parts before, and the residents believe in the existence of some earth spirit. Fawn, concerned for the participants' safety, wants to cancel the competition. The mayor informs me about this idea, but he demands that the competition continue, promising that otherwise the whole town will suffer. Understanding that canceling the competition is bad for the town, the mayor persuades Fawn to proceed and suggests increasing safety measures for the participants. Cal, Jane, and Yo arrive at the designated location where they find a mysterious cave. Assuming that the source is inside, the team enters and explores. Soon they find a moist wall covered in moss and realize that the source of the precious liquid must be just behind this wall. Cal and Jane are already thinking about how to spend their winnings, but Yo notices something strange in the cave. Shocked by a horrifying sight, the cousins rush out of the cave and drive away. Meanwhile, V plans to blast the ground to reach the water. He ignores Fawn's words, reminding him that such actions are prohibited according to the drilling protocol. At the same time, frightened Cal and Jane appear, telling everyone about the terrifying monster, but no one believes them. Suddenly, the creature drags one of the drillers underground, and then everyone realizes that the danger is real. People panic and climb onto a vehicle, hoping to escape the giant lizard. However, the monster bursts out from under the ground and attacks the poor people. Jane and me hide in the cargo truck's cabin, but the mayor doesn't make it inside in time, and the monster devours him. Then the creature notices Cal and Fawn and starts pursuing them. They run as fast as they can, but suddenly fall into a pit. Jane sees her cousin in danger and distracts the monster, allowing Cal and Fawn to escape. The insatiable lizard immediately returns to the truck, while Jane and me hide and stay still, hoping the monster won't find them. After some time, they attempt to assess if it's safe outside, but soon realize the monster is still there. Meanwhile, Cal and Fawn regain consciousness in the lair of the ruthless creature and realize they need to find an exit before the creature returns. Navigating through the cave, Cal suddenly discovers a human skeleton in horror. Fawn tries to reassure her scared friend, but soon she notices a pile of eggs from the terrifying lizard, and then their friend Yo trapped in a massive cocoon. Approaching closer, Cal and Fawn realize that Yo is still alive, but they can't free him from the cocoon. Soon, Fawn notices other cocoons and fearfully assumes that all these unfortunate people are intended for the new lizards. Jane and Me confirm that the monster is asleep and carefully exit the truck to get into Me's van and drive away. However, when Jane tries to open the van door, the alarm goes off. Me quickly disables it, but the abrupt sound wakes the monster. Jane immediately jumps into the vehicle, and Me becomes the next prey of the horrifying creature. In the cave, Fawn insists that they must return and help all the abducted people, but Cal believes they need to escape first. Fawn then accuses Cal of once again abandoning their own and claims that his grandfather would never leave people in trouble. Cal promises Fawn that they will definitely help the people, but first, they need to find a way out of the cave. Soon they discover a damp wall of clearly unnatural origin and suspect water behind it. Fawn remembers that underground reptiles despise water and believes that the giant lizard built the wall to protect itself from water. Suddenly, Cal and Fawn hear a frightening sound and realize the lizard has returned. Fortunately, they manage to escape and run far away from the horrifying cave. In the desert, they encounter a group of unsuccessful drillers and warn them about the danger, but the men just laugh. However, their laughter stops when the monster climbs the hill and lets out a terrifying roar. The men then draw their weapons and decide to confront the lizard, but the creature jumps off the hill and attacks the group. Cal, who briefly lost consciousness, wakes up and suddenly sees the monster swallowing Fawn and descending underground with her. Enraged, Cal, armed with a pistol, wants to return to the cave and save his friend, but the men stop him, thinking that Fawn didn't survive. Cal then tells them about the eggs and the many people in cocoons who will soon become food for the offspring. However, the men insist that descending into the lair now is pointless, as bullets do not harm the creature. Cal decides to launch a signal flare, hoping that someone from the contest participants will come to their aid. Responding to the signal, a group of drillers arrive with Jane. She's over the moon to see Cal alive. Cal suggests everyone join forces to defeat the monster and save the kidnapped people. But the folks aren't keen on risking their lives. Cal appeals to their sympathy and convinces them that together they can save many lives. This persuades the men to join him, and the team begins executing Cal's plan. First, they need to lure the lizard out from underground and trap it. Then, armed with equipment, they'll head to the survivors. The men crank up loud music, which immediately gets the monster's attention. It emerges to the surface and gets caught in the loop they've set around the pit. The team keeps the lizard in the loop and tries to attack, but the massive reptile turns out to be stronger. The monster nearly tears Cal apart, but suddenly one of the men throws explosives at it, and the lizard retreats underground with its head ablaze. Meanwhile, the group led by Jane enters the cave, where Yo and Fawn have already recovered. The group manages to break the cocoons and free the victims, but as they approach the exit, they hear that the monster is on its way. Everyone rushes outside, and only Me in panic runs in the opposite direction. Finally, the people leave the cave, and Jane reports that everyone has exited except Me. But suddenly it turns out that Fawn hasn't made it out either. Cal assumes that she couldn't leave Me behind and went after him. However, the team now needs to carry out the final stage of the plan, to set up Me's explosives on the stone wall and detonate them, causing water to flood the cave and the monster to leave. Cal is in despair, as Fawn and Me are still underground, and he must save them. He sends the entire team to take cover while he, holding the detonator, heads back into the cave. Fawn finally finds Me, but soon the horrifying lizard appears right in front of them. Me and Fawn try to flee, but the lizard is already catching up to the girl. At that moment, Cal enters the cave, rushing towards the creature's head with a pickaxe, exerting all his strength to defeat it. For a brief moment, Cal and Fawn manage to evade the monster, but it locates them and attacks Fawn. Cal fires a rocket straight into the monster's head, and he and Fawn escape. On their way to the exit, Cal detonates the wall, and water floods the cave instantly, carrying away the underground beast. Just in time, Cal and Fawn rush out, where they are joyfully greeted by Jane. Soon water starts gushing out of the ground like fountains. Fawn congratulates Cal on winning the contest and earning the prize, but the guy insists that she is his main prize. But suddenly, from the flooded pit, a surviving Guy appears with a lizard egg in his hands, which means the village will still have to deal with those creepy underground creatures. This was the movie Leo. Personally, I think water couldn't really defeat the monster that isn't even stopped by firearms. Probably, the giant lizard will lay low for some time and then start terrorizing the locals again. So, do you think the lizard will come back? Or will the villagers be able to enjoy the long-awaited water peacefully without thinking about danger? Let's discuss possible outcomes in the comments.